Alright everybody, today is a big step up for the Camaro here. We are finally ditching that old heavy GM starter back there. Those things are pretty good and they're pretty affordable, but I don't know, they just seem to go bad after a couple years, or once they get hot. Like in my situation, once it gets hot it doesn't like to crank. So I'm going to be installing this small little mini starter here that I got off Summit. Here's the model number if you guys want to know which one this is. This is going to go on there, and hopefully this will solve all my issues. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here and take that old one off, and we can do a little bit of comparison once they're off and see what they look like. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and head down underneath here and try to somehow get the starter off. They're never fun to get off. They weigh like 40 pounds and there's always wires and training lines and nonsense in the way. So yeah, I'm going to try not to lose my mind and hopefully be back up in a minute with a big heavy starter. Oh. Whew. My God, these things are so heavy. Oh, that wasn't fun. Okay, so the old starter's off right here, and here's just a quick little comparison of the two. This starter is just your classic GM starter. You're going to find that on pretty much every small block Chevy vehicle out there. And here's just a pretty typical mini starter. And the way these work, they're just gear factors, so they basically have more torque. They can spin the engine over a little bit quicker, and if it has more compression, it helps as well. Like I was saying, this starter over here is pretty prone to getting heat soaked whenever you have the header pipe right next to it, stuff like that. And it just doesn't crank as good as soon as it warms up. I've also replaced a lot of those, so they just tend to go bad. You always see guys smacking them with wrenches and shit. So they're not fun to replace. They weigh a lot. I wish I could give you guys a little scale here, but yeah, this is at least, you know, a couple more pounds lighter, which makes a pretty big difference when you're hanging it over your head. But I am gonna go grab that jump box right there, and we're gonna hook these things up and just do a little side-by-side comparison. All right, so here's my jump pack. Nothing fancy here, but to test these guys out, basically all you're gonna want to do is hook up your jump pack, and if you have one that has an on and off switch, that's really nice because you can wire it up without sending sparks everywhere. But basically all you want to do for this old GM starter, this is the main battery post here, and you're going to put your power over here to the little ignition switch post right here. That's what like your key on usually goes to. And then for your ground on the battery pack, you just want to ground it to the case somewhere. And it's the same idea for this guy over here. I'm going to try it on this post, which is the ignition post, and I'm also going to try it on this main post to see if it is any different. I'm not really too sure. These mini starters are kind of weird, so let's go ahead and kick this over on this guy here. Alright, so kicked over. Let's see. Alright, yeah, you can see the gear back here. It's going to fly out. There we go. And usually what happens is that gear is going to fly out, engage the flywheel on the engine, and then it's just going to crank over. So let me move these leads over to this mini starter and see what this one does. Alright, so I have this mini starter wired up, and I found there's actually two ways you can wire this. So as I was saying earlier, this little post right here on top, which, let's see, maybe you can see it a little better this way, but this post on top is the ignition switch. And there's also this post here, which is the main battery cable. And now just messing with it, I found that if you put power to this guy, you can spin the gear. And if you put power to this guy, you can send out the Bindex gear in the back there. So we're going to do a little bit of both, but I'm going to start just by sending out the gear. So you'll see it shoot out. And all I'm doing is just switching this on and off. So we know that it is shooting the gear out to engage the flywheel. So now we can move this right here, and it should spin it. Quite a bit of torque. Cool. So we know that both of these starters are good, which I knew beforehand, but it's always nice to test these guys out. So I'm going to go ahead and slap these guys on the car, and we're going to get this thing going. Alright everybody, it is the next day, and I'll be honest, that starter was not fun to put on last night. Took me a couple hours at least, and a lot of bloodied up knuckles and stuff. Anyways, basically all I have left to do is get the starter blanket on there and tighten up all the little various bolts and the wiring on it, and then we can start to crank this thing over and see how it sounds. So I'm going to go and button this up and set up the camera. Alright, so starter's on there, starter blanket's on, everything's wired up. I think we're ready to test it out, and hopefully I have the shims right and it doesn't completely destroy my flywheel, which would be excellent. So let me go hop in there and we'll crank this thing over. Okay, so it definitely cranks over a lot faster just on a cold crank here. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be better during a hot crank. Now I'm giving it every chance that it can to be successful with that blanket, and the headers are still wrapped down below by it, and there's a lot more clearance, so it shouldn't get as hot. But I am going to fire this thing up, take it around my normal spin around the block, and we'll come back and test it out, see how it starts once it warms up. Alright, just got back from the drive, and it's nice and cool, 166 degrees, the fan is on. I had the lights on and everything, so this battery should be right where it should be, just on a normal drive. So let me go ahead and turn this thing off. Alright, and I am going to go set up the camera on the tripod over there, and we'll see what it sounds like now that it's hot. I am sure that you guys could tell in the video that starter has made a massive difference in how easy this thing is starting right now, and that's while it's hot, so I am very happy with that. I'm going to keep on testing this starter out. I'll let you guys know if I have any issues with it, but right now I'm very happy with it. I'll go ahead and put the part number in the description down below if you guys are interested in it. And yeah, that's everything for me today, guys. I think we fixed the starter issue on this one, which I am very happy about. And yeah, alright, subscribe if you guys want to see some more content of this Camaro here, and thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Come here. Did you get it, Brody?